I think that we could all agree here that The Acolyte is going to be one of the most controversial Star Wars projects since 2017's The Last Jedi by writer and director Rian Johnson that really divided the fandom back then, where now as The Acolyte is going to be the final nail in the coffin for the Star Wars universe, based on what Leslie Headland has been talking about, based on what Kathleen Kennedy has been spewing about The Acolyte, as well as let's not forget about the various, of course, creatives attached to the Acolyte series, and onwards. Now, we know that The Acolyte is going to be released on June 4th. The overall marketing campaign has been a disaster, judging from what happened with the past trailer and the most recent one, which was another failure as well. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, we already know that Leslie Headland is right up there with Rian Johnson. She herself has admitted that she looked up to Rian Johnson, that she took inspiration from The Last Jedi, and how she is going to apply his technique of subverting expectations into the Acolyte series, and how she supports all these different communities and how they will be represented in The Acolyte. Now, this is exactly why this is basically ideology over art, and why it's gonna fail, and it's gonna fail hard. Now, focusing here on Kathleen Kennedy, we all know that she is one that fully defends everything that Lucasfilm has been going through, everything that, of course, she herself has been pretty much producing, year by year for the Star Wars franchise that has been one fail after the other, of course, with the exception of Andor. But focusing on all of this, one interesting aspect about all of that has a lot to do with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, with those like Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland desperately defending the Acolyte series after 2 trailer failures, one major development now has much to do with Kennedy attacking the fans after the ongoing backlash, which is only getting worse each week. Now, Kennedy delivered the following. As president of Lucasfilm, I felt it was important to address one of our biggest challenges that we had going in with The Acolyte, which I believe is a great love letter to the Star Wars brand on how we aim to evolve the franchise. What we find to be very irresponsible from this community is how we have recognized that we tend to deal with a loud, opinionated minority that attempts to convince others who want to enjoy our products that the changes that we are bringing to Star Wars is something driven by any form of an agenda, which is simply completely untrue and false. To me, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a very important thing in this world, and for the film industry, and how we applied that to The Acolyte and made that our priority should not be considered an agenda. I think any fans that think this way truly do not understand where we are going with Star Wars and what we here at Lucasfilm find to be very important with our many films and television programs in the lineup right now that will fully support DEI moving onwards. I am glad to have this opportunity to produce the many Star Wars projects that we have in the current slate that will take DEI as a priority, and I couldn't be more proud that we have creators like Leslie Headland who took so much time and effort to make The Acolyte possible. So that's the challenge that we are dealing with right now, especially in this industry, and we see it every day with our Star Wars brand here at Lucasfilm, how a small margin of fans remain opposed to our shift to focus on the significance of DEI, and how it is something that the industry missed out on for so many years, that it's about time that we make up for that lost time. It's why I felt Leslie was the correct choice for acting as showrunner for The Acolyte. This series will serve as a symbol of how to properly focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion for a Star Wars product, while at the same exact time adapting the story to something new that shifts away from George Lucas's vision. I don't think fans should point the finger and label this as any form of an agenda, because that's just damaging to others who are trying to enjoy the experience. With The Acolyte, we wanted to really focus on Rian Johnson's vision that The Last Jedi, of course, had, and we really had to ignore the type of response that we got from that film because of the bold choices that he made that really made this film so unique, and how we applied that experience to The Acolyte. Now, guys, let me just say one thing before I move on about what Kathleen Kennedy is spewing here. Now, we all know that Kathleen Kennedy is one that will never admit that The Last Jedi was a wrong film for fans, was a world divider when it came to the Star Wars franchise, right? Basically everyone around the world, no matter what kind of Star Wars fan you were, whether you were a casual or hardcore fan, pretty much any Star Wars fan out there saw The Last Jedi for what it was, and it was just completely trash. Now, we know that everything related to the Acolyte is going to be pretty much nearly the same, if not worse, because Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy are openly admitting that this is going to be basically a pretty much, you know, frame-by-frame remake of The Last Jedi as far as the beliefs go, right? As far as what they want to turn this series into. And you can see it with the Acolyte trailers, you can see it with the type of statements that are being provided by Leslie Headland about this show, and how she wants to break away from the traditions within Star Wars, within, of course, the universe that George Lucas set up well over 40 plus years ago. Now, on top of this, alright, to make matters even worse, she goes on to continue, it's something that Leslie proposed to me that I thought was going to be a brilliant move to subvert expectations. I think the miscommunication that we have within the Star Wars community that should be explained is that these films and shows shouldn't be for the fans, nor should that be the focus, but rather it should be catered to the creator, to focus on how they want to tell their story. That's the problem that fans need to understand. This is a great story by Leslie, who really felt the importance of supporting the LGBTQ community, and everything to do with DEI would really bring this project in a brand new, inspiring direction. So again, we have the Acolyte series up and coming for June 4th. It's still set for that release date window, and there's no sign of a delay for that. And at the same exact time, you know, the fact that we've only had minimal marketing for this series, where we have less than a month to go, alright? It has been a disastrous marketing for Lucasfilm. We had 2 trailers that got ratioed across the board, across all forms of social media. The Empire, marketing campaign for the magazine covers and the exclusive images still didn't change people's mind at all. And let's not forget about the fact that this series is literally taking key points from The Last Jedi. That's really unattractive in the first place. That's the last thing you want to tell any Star Wars fan out there. Whenever you drop any kind of, memory to The Last Jedi or Rian Johnson and applying that to the Acolyte, I think that's the biggest red flag that you could drop, and really that's going to be the one thing that's going to drive fans away right off the bat, basically. So overall, there's a lot of things going on here with Lucasfilm, Disney, Bob Iger, and Kathleen Kennedy, who just doubled down on all this garbage, but it's not just them that are the problem. We always have to address the top 3 shareholders of Disney that are funding this nonsense, and that of course is BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, that really just will not stop with their agenda, and how it's spilling into things like Marvel, Star Wars, and just Disney in general. So overall, I would really love to hear what you guys have to say about this ongoing scenario with the Acolyte, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.